It's nearly there. We're so close now. We are so close to finishing the international break. And Arsenal news is stepping up a little bit. And we're going to chat about it for the next hour. So let's jump in. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our TGT podcast, a show in which I'm joined by two wonderful people and Mike, to talk about, you know the drill by now, to talk about the wonderful Arsenal in all of their glory and some other stuff. When I introduce Owen, I'm sure he's going to have a dig at some point, and we'll get to that. But Mike, it's been a while, mate. It's a pleasure to have you back on, fella.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Been biding my time, waiting to be able to make another appearance.
And of course, you are adorned now with wonderful donations from the Gooners versus Cancer. If you want to give that a shout,
yeah, absolutely. Goonersversuscancer.com. We've got about 24 hours left to get into it, so I can go into more detail later on. But we're doing great. We have help from guys like this and guys like this. And all of you out there. So appreciate it, and love to give a little bit more detail later on if that fits your profile.
Yes, it is scheduled on the what do we call it? The running order.
Scheduled,
scheduled as well. And,
it's on my CV.
I'm in support of it for the moral reasons, but the fact that it revealed my childish FIFA antics is not appreciated at all. I didn't like. We don't talk about that.
two words: rage quit. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I might rage quit this. I might rage quit this podcast. So let's not go too far.
Owen, right, go on, Owen. Just do it now. Get out of the way. Go on.
Do what? Swear? Make a sick joke?
England. I thought you were going to mention it.
Oh, right. No, that's a big enough joke as it is. Yeah, no, this is a great week. Thomas Partey is signing, football's almost back, and it just gives me great pleasure to sit and know that England fans are having a miserable end of this stupid international break. You deserve it.
I can't believe we're going to lose the Nations League.
This is the thing, is like I'm very much one of those fans that would rather see Arsenal win the Champions League than England won the World Cup. But I still support my country. I'm not someone that sits there and goes, "Oh, there's Spurs players playing, so I can't support them." I'm still English. I'm still gonna back the country. Like, I understand the point of view of
as hard as it is,
as hard as it is, and I will forever. And ultimately, it gives me more reason to hate Kane for not squaring it to Sterling in the semi-final of the World Cup. Like, it gives me more reason to hate him, but I still get behind the country when they play. So yeah, it just frustrates me.
Do you want to know what it is?
Supporting my country.
I know this is going to come up in the chat. I know that Ireland are absolutely dung. By the way, we are terrible. but the worst thing is that England still think that they're
drew against Wales. That's where you're at. You drew against Wales.
Did they not beat you a couple of years back? Wales? No.
No, they. I don't think. Well, we drew against them in the Euro in the group stage. Oh no, we beat them because Daniel Sturridge scored right at the end.
Nobody remembers.
Wales scored like a free kick from like 40 yards out. But yeah, no one remembers because no one remembers group stages of European Championships. Anyway, Tomo, fella, it's good to have you back on the show, mate.
Yeah, cheers. It's been a while, and I miss club football so much. Like. I think, without question, this is like the stupidest period ever to have international football. And this is exactly the reason why we shouldn't have it. Honestly, it's been dreadful. I'm not interested in any of these games whatsoever. Bring back the Premier League.
Yeah,
and everybody's sick.
And everybody's sick as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
everybody's sick, but they're sick, but they're going to play. Our guy's not sick, and he can't play.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that, because for a second we get frustrated because Kieran Tierney, we talked about this a week ago, Kieran Tierney can't play against, seemingly can't play against Manchester City because he was in close contact with, was it Stuart Armstrong of Southampton? And yet Ronaldo can contract the virus, and yet somehow the whole of the Wolves team can still play. What? Someone tell me how this is fair.
Well, do you want the serious answer or the
Go
jokey
for it.
answer?
Like, I love serious. That's what
do
Mike's here for, to counterbalance the serious. That's what
I'll get the joke out of the way first. So the most logical explanation for this is that whoever's the head of the Scottish FA is a Rangers fan. That's all I can think of, is that they're a diehard Rangers fan. No, but it's so stupid here. The approach in general is so stupid. Because as you know, Tom, we were talking pre-pod about some of the changes in restrictions around the UK, and the restrictions here are different to the ones in England, and the restrictions in Scotland are different to the ones here. And so it's similar with Wales. We all seem to govern ourselves, which is absolutely idiotic, you know, when you consider how tight-knit the countries in the UK are. And surely this should have been thought out of before international duty commenced. You know, knowing that players from multiple countries were going to be visiting multiple countries, surely there should have been some protocol put in place. And whatever happened to the elite bubble, and the way that I've described this is that all the hard work that has been put in up till this point by the clubs has been undone. And I would say probably within the next week or two, we're probably going to see even more outbreaks. And do you want to know what I was actually thinking in news? Well, I was going to say you three are intelligent people, but I know at least two years are. I'll not say which one.
Even it's in the dark.
Yeah, I don't know Tom that well, but that was really a douchebag comment to make about Tom, Ian. I'm gonna call you Ian because of that.
Yeah, cheers. No, but basically, right. So what they're saying is that they will not let Kieran Tierney travel back down to London, because they're worried that there's an incubation period where he could take a test negative, but still have the virus in his system. Okay.
He doesn't need to go to London. He just needs to go to Manchester.
Yeah, that's not that far. No, but in all seriousness, if that is the case, if there's an incubation period that long of 14 days, say, then surely the weekly testing that clubs have been doing is just idiotic, because people could be tested negative when they're actually positive for the virus. The test negative 1 week, by that time it has spread throughout a whole club. So, you know, what they're saying in terms of the actual science behind the test, and it doesn't make sense to me. You know, there seems to be a lot of holes in what they're saying. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I mean, I don't get it. There's a conflict, obviously, between what seems to be good for the goose is not good for the gander. It seems to be an anti-Arsenal conspiracy, like always. All I know is if he can't play, I mean, freaking start Thomas Partey at left back. I mean, just anybody but Kolasinac. Saka,
You've got Kolasinac on a shirt, Mike. You are an advocate of the body.
I do, but I've openly said that was the second biggest mistake I've ever made.
What's the first?
Don't even ask him.
Letting you stay at my flat at Highbury. Take your shirt off.
That didn't happen. The shirt was on the whole time.
The shirt was
that makes it sound like something was going on while
the part. It was on for the part that you can remember anyway.
Tom, what do we think about the whole Tierney situation?
Like it's a bit of a joke, to be honest. I don't know what happened, because I read some tweets about Arsenal trying to sneak him back. So I'm just imagining Vinay and Edu, like, in a blacked out car driving up to Scotland, whisking them away. No idea how they would have sorted that one out, but it's a bit silly. And obviously, I'm also, wondering about Partey. Is he even allowed to train with the team? Obviously he's been away. Is he part of the elite bubble? Like everything with COVID, none of it really makes sense. What the strategy or policy is, So hopefully, do you know when the next round of games are? Is that it till next year?
It's November.
It's next Thursday, I believe they start back up again.
Yeah, it's November 7th. There's a game, and then it's after that. It's the week before. It's like the week of the 14th, I think, and then we have the.
Why are they playing any of these? I know the Nations League is different than friendlies, but maybe only a little bit. But why are they playing any of these right now? Everyone stay in the country.
I see some stupid petitions on the internet, ridiculous petitions. If there was ever anything worth starting a petition over,
cancel the international.
Cancel it, please. And you'll even see if England fans the misery of having to watch this. So,
has a petition ever are petitions 0 for 5 million right now as far as success ratio concerned? I've never seen.
You see it, don't you? It's the 100,000 that need to get signed, and it goes through Parliament. It goes through Parliament. It gets to them, and they go, so we've got this thing that's got 100,000 signatures. What do we think? No.
That's what I was about to say. I just read that recently, that if you actually get enough signatures on a petition, that it has to go through Parliament. I don't think we have that over here. And I would imagine that even not having that and having that rule, the petitions get given the same level of scrutiny. I mean, it's I don't know.
There's a running theme to the start of this podcast, which is there's 4 unqualified people spewing stats and science at each other. It just shows you, that freedom of speech really does exist.
If you look up definition of a podcast, that's exactly what a podcast is.
That is it. It's just
I'm not sure I agree with you, mate. I get all of my information from QAnon, so I'm pretty on top of these things.
that Q, he's a patriot, man.
Unreal. It just frustrates me because, like, as we were talking about, saying that to think that these bubbles have been so carefully managed, teams in the top tiers of the leagues are being tested week in, week out, but there are players that are playing in the lower leagues that are part of national setups of certain nations because their pool of talent isn't as rich as, say, the Germanys, the Englands, Spain's and France, etc. And that's what you find players.
There's only one Germany now. There used to be 2, but now there's only one Germany.
But there's more than one German person. But the point is that when you look at the lower leagues, there are international players within those. I was just talking to the other half about the players that are coming from Charlton, like Johnny Williams, who is at Charlton, has been called up to the Welsh national team, and they're not regularly testing in League One. That's why we've seen like Spurs pay out for Leyton Orient to get testing done for a private company, and then that game got completely cancelled because loads of COVID positive tests came up that they weren't aware of at the first place. So that game had to be cancelled. So you would imagine that these players that have not been tested regularly are going to go join up with their national teams with people that have been being tested regularly, that have been protected from this, and then they're going to cross-contaminate between them because they won't be. I mean, we say they're social distance, but I watched a training video of Eric Dyer climbing all over Bukayo Saka in training, and they've been within different clubs. So if that's happening between an Arsenal and a Spurs player, I can guarantee you it's happening between lots of other countries and clubs and teams and players as well.
Speaking of cross-contamination, how does your other half, how's she feeling about the addicts right now?
She's brilliant. She's feeling pretty good. I mean, they've signed 6 players now, I think it is.
Just since Thomas took over?
Since Thomas.
I'm going to call him Thomas because I know a guy who knows him.
We do. So, yeah, it's going well. Charlton fans can be very, very happy with what's going on there, and hopefully they can turn things around this season. But at the moment, the almighty Gills, who are the local team where Zach Medley and Trey Coyle are currently on that, I think they're 4th or something in the league right now, which is quite crazy. So Zach and Trey are having a very good time, or Zach, I should say, Zach Medley, having fantastic times over at Gillingham. So hopefully that continues, and maybe, you never know, but before the end of the season, we might be able to get into the grounds at some point. I'll be able to go watch them play. So that'd be interesting for sure. The other piece of news that's kind of dropped is around Saliba. And a week ago, we discussed this, and I know you were on and we were chatting about it. And at the time, it seems like the logical thing would be that he's going to go out on loan to a championship club. It could have been Brentford, it could have been Watford, and we were discussing about the type of what sort of scenario would best suit the Frenchman. But the man who knows all, Mr. David Ornstein, tweeted out a couple of days ago that that's not going to happen, and it looks highly likely that he will stay. He's been omitted from the Europa League squad, which appeared when you're playing against, no offence, Owen, but Dundalk, and of course Mulder and Rapid Vienna. These are the perfect sort of opportunities to play some of the younger guys.
Call him Rapid Wien. Come on, that makes me much happier.
No, it's Rapid Vienna. I will not call them. I don't call Cologne Köln. I call them Cologne because that's
Rapid Wien, young boys. Those are the teams in Central Europe that I follow.
Eastern Europe.
Okay.
Geographically, I outrank you.
Switzerland is Eastern Europe. You're correct. I know Vienna's Austria.
Switzerland.
Yes, I said young boys.
Oh, young boys. Okay, fair enough.
I'd
claim Austria as more east, surely. I want to get up my Google Earth. I'm going to get my globe from under my desk and have a look. No, but yeah, it's just a case of. I mean, so we're going to get a lot of geographers in the chat now throwing it out. Or a lot of my ex-students are going to come on and start going, "Sir doesn't know a thing about geography."
Yeah, because Vienna and Bern are both in that Russian the Soviet Eastern European bloc.
I'd say that Central Europe was more Italy and Germany. Would you not?
Listen to the guy who was around when the Soviet Union was in place. And, let's just leave it there.
Chat box, you can have a debate for us, and you can sort this out. I'm probably wrong.
Out of the way.
To be fair, geographers are notoriously bad with like navigation. So I'm definitely fulfilling that right now. I mean, Richie,
you found your way to the bed in my flat in Highbury, though. There was no problem.
For goodness' sake, that's twice. That's 2 times in the same podcast.
Richie, come on, mate. You're talking absolute muck. Of course they're the best. Should they win the league flat out? Maybe. I don't know
how good are Shamrock Rovers right now?
It's sort of really Bohemian, and Dundalk would tend to be the best. Shamrock have sort of slipped off, if I'm right. I don't really follow the Irish League, to be honest with you.
Just started to talk about it like you were some expert.
I just know that Dundalk always do quite well. Shamrock Rovers, Richie, are they? I thought they slipped off. Yeah.
Anyway,
they're decent anyway.
Those types of clubs, I felt would be the perfect opportunity to see Saliba. Tom, are you surprised that Saliba now appears to be staying?
Yeah, I imagine it's some deep personal issues. I don't know. Maybe the club is doing what they can to protect him, and he's not been that active on social media. He's really been keeping a low profile. But I always think he's 19 years old. And we've seen so many great big hopes who've come through with a lot of hype early on, have not lived up to it. So whatever the club are doing, I'm hoping it's the right thing. I thought going to a championship club in London or something would have made sense if he's not going to be part of the first team. But I just hope that they're taking the right decisions for the guy. I mean, if what they say about his family is true, I mean, it's obviously tragic, right? And he is a kid, lest we forget. So, I mean, hopefully, whether he goes, whether he stays, he can still develop. I mean, if he doesn't, it's quite worrying. So I'm trying not to think about that and being optimistic. But hopefully, yeah, he can make an adjustment. Maybe something will click, and he'll be ready to go. With this Arsenal team, you never really know, right? Like, things can change really quickly. We saw, Mainsley was on his way out. He's now here. Even the way Bellerin got into the team, and then became a mainstay. Anything can happen. So, let's hope, the kid looks after himself, the club is looking after him, and he can be a big part of our future. I mean, he's super talented. We all know that. But, I think Arteta is a good manager. So let's hope he can get this one right. We need him to.
I think this is the club looking after him. And we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So I think we have to trust that the club is doing what's right by the 19-year-old. This is a kid. He's a man child. He's incredibly talented. If Arteta doesn't think he's ready to be on the pitch, and he looked great against who was that we played over the in MK Dons. Yeah, I mean, he looked great against MK Dons, which doesn't necessarily tell you what you need to know. But if he is not mentally there, trust me. I mean, we've seen what's going on right now with Harry Maguire being stuck out on the pitch every week. He's not in the right place, and we're not talking about the same kind of issues, family and otherwise, adjusting to a new country, adjusting to isolation with COVID at the same time you're adjusting to a new country. So, I would give a longer leash to the club and to the player to not be ready to go yet than I normally would under the current circumstances. And if he needs an entire another year of playing with low pressure and getting his confidence back and acclimating, then so be it. And I can wait until next season. We've made a big investment in him, and I still think it'll come good.
It is a big investment. £27 million on an 18-year-old at the time is massive. And obviously he went back on loan, and the transition year, as Arteta talks about, was completely interrupted by injury and then Liga finishing early. But Owen, say that the situation, worst case scenario, he stays with the club. He doesn't play a single senior game up until January. What's the type of damaging effect that can have on a player?
As I've mentioned before, I'm really divided on this here, because I think it needs to be clear whether it's emotional trauma that's sort of limiting his progress at the minute, or whether it's his footballing ability. I think that if it's the emotional trauma side, that this could probably be a good thing. Because I think if it's emotional trauma that's causing the issue, that the main focus really needs to be on getting him sort of mended, the emotional support that he needs, get counselling, grievance counselling, before you even worry about putting him back on a football pitch. I'm sure we've all played football at some sort of level, and it can be an intense atmosphere at the best of times. So I think if you've got any sort of underlying issue, mental issue like that, it can be a very stressful place. So I was never in favour of him going out on loan once I heard this news. The only logical point I could see in terms of him actually mentally getting better is if he moved back to France to be around friends and family, somewhere he was maybe a little more comfortable. And that's still where I stand. I think that probably quite a likely outcome of this is that we keep him until January. He sort of knocks about down around the under 23s, and then we'll see him get a loan move back to France for the remainder of the season in January, and then we'll see where he's at the end of that. But look, as I've mentioned before, I really, apart from maybe a few small tweaks, I can't see it being massively down to his footballing ability. Because he came in so highly regarded and so highly rated, from the small samples that we've seen from him while he has been here, I think he looks he looks the real deal, and he sort of lived up to a lot of the praise that he was given prior to arriving. So I think it's just a case of looking after the person rather than the player at the minute. And at the end of the day, as Mike says, 19, man, he's still a child. That's a big trauma to be going through at that age. And I think they need to handle it the right way and look at him not as an item but as a person.
Colorado Gooner says that if it is an emotional trauma and Arteta is just keeping him in the background, that's great, and that means that there is also a possibility that he could be better at some point in the season. And then
it is, but we got to be patient, though. I mean, the social media. I mean, you just hope that he's not on social media, because
he's not been posting at all.
Well, I hope that means that he doesn't own a computer anymore or have a phone or anything like that. Because I mean, it's just our fan base will make or break you. Unfortunately, if you are, and I don't say this in a negative way, but if you are, I was going to say fragile, but that sounds like an insult. If you are prone to being sensitive, as a normal good person is, this is not the environment you want to be jumping into, where people are questioning whether you're Arsenal quality or not. And so the jackasses that are talking about, well, why did we buy him if he wasn't ready to play? Get some perspective on your life, and understand that these people aren't here necessarily just to serve you and play through their private issues. So I mean, look, yeah.
But there's also a fact that we've got about 55 centre backs also still at the club. So I think that could also play as a factor, because I mean Chambers is coming back, Mary's coming back, and I'm really interested to see if he fits into the team somehow, particularly in a 3 at the back.
I think when you've got Gabriel, who's come in as a left-footed centre-back, and he's cost 23. Actually, he's cost us $5 million.
$5 million a year.
Yeah.
How insane is that?
Installment.
There's two things
of the summer.
There's two things there, I think, that we've mentioned that I'd like to touch on, right? And it's the first one is Gabriel. I think that Gabriel has satisfied the craving for that young prospect centre-back that we all had with Saliba. I think that has just coincidentally worked out very, very well, that we were all so excited for Saliba coming in, and the fact that Gabriel has hit the ground running takes pressure off him, and maybe gives the club, takes the pressure off them too. But another thing as well is that we have to remember is, as I mentioned, football is a cutthroat business, and it might be a bit cheesy to say this, but I'm proud to be an Arsenal fan at the way from the way that they're handling this situation. You know, it would be so much easier for them to throw him out there. As Mike said, our fan base on social media are second to none in terms of throwing pressure onto a club, and it would have been very easy for them or Mikel Arteta to just throw him to the wolves and possibly destroy his progression. So the fact that they are sort of taking this, and I would imagine the fact that he's not on social media has probably been recommended by the club.
Let's hope.
I don't see all these things as coincidental, and it, as I said, it sort of makes me proud that our club's operating.
Owen said this. Zamir just said it in the post that you just highlighted. I mean, if we were down to an iffy Luiz, a holding that wasn't necessarily playing on well on a regular basis, although he has been much better lately. If Socrates was forced in every once in a while, everyone would be screaming and focusing on Saliba right now. And the fact is, so far in this brand new season, we haven't had to worry about that. Our issues have not been defensively, and we have more cover coming. And that is absolutely the fortunate thing that we didn't send too many of these guys out on loan like we were talking about, or in transfers, and we have the ability to bed him in a little bit slower. If not for that, I think we could have seen a Maguire situation where we're playing somebody whose head isn't where it needs to be on the pitch.
No, and we've done that with players ourselves in the past. I think we've done it with Hector Bellerin. I think we did it with Alex Iwobi. I think we've seen examples with both of those players where we played them into the ground and continued to play them after they were burnt out and were facing a lot of criticism from the fan base. I think arguably Pepe got a bit of that last season as well. And
Iwobi might be the best example of that. He lost a step and needed some time off, and they just kept pushing him out there. And that doesn't do you any good. You can't play through that in football for whatever reason. You don't play through it.
You need to. I mean, there's so many players that have taken breaks out like that and have just continued to play on. Like you look at Patrick Bamford at Leeds, the time that he spent with the other teams and then eventually moving to Leeds, that was sort of like a completely rebirth of his career. And I think that you look at the other players that have had to play through the stick, like we're seeing with Maguire now is a great example of that, and Iwobi at Arsenal, and I thought Hector Bellerin as well, to slightly lesser extent. It just shows you that you can't play through some of these periods and that you need to be taken out the spotlight. Go on,
Bellerin's was injury related, I think, more than anything else, but the others, I mean –
period when it was like 21 to 23-ish, that's kind of period. Like he burst onto the scene at 18, 19, and then had 2 years of really top football in his early 20s. But then 21
then he did his Achilles in, and they rushed him back too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But see, something that I've seen through these documentaries, the old one with Liverpool, the one with Man City, and the one now with them lot, is the importance of man management within inside a club as well. And Mike, you'll probably know more about this here than me. But back in the 90s, back in the 90s, it always Rodman for the Chicago Bulls. They used to let him go away on weekends to Las Vegas as a blowout because he's a certain type of character that needs.
That happened once, and it was a very, very famous one where they had to drag him back.
yeah, but it just shows that sometimes it doesn't care how professional the industry you're in. You have to take care of the people,
And that is down to man management because not everybody can do that. If you let the wrong type of person get freedom and forget about the team concept for 2 days, they're going to take 2 months to get it back. The end story to that Rodman story is when he came back from the Vegas trip, they all started doing sprints, I think, inside, and you've watched the documentary like I have. They expected him to be the one that was slowing them all down, and he was the one that was running twice the speed as anyone else. He was one of those freaks that just, he could go on a 48-hour bender and then come back and lead the team in effort and energy. And so, that comes to management because you have to know who your players are that can handle that, and you have to know who your players are that need a little bit of hand-holding. And I don't see Mikel Arteta in his enhanced role of being in control, in his more Wenger-like capacity at the club that he's gained. I see him being the perfect person to treat each of these players the way that they individually need to be treated.
Tomo, have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, like I said, I think we're doing the right thing. I hope we are. But I'm really interested to see what happens with Chambers. I've always had a lot of time for Chambers. I think, there's always like recency bias when it comes to football. I mean, even more so in the Twitter age. But I thought he was really consistent. He was playing really well before he got injured. I think he's been really unlucky with injuries in his career. He's still not too old. He's still a good age. I personally think he has a higher ceiling than Holding. I think we've seen him perform to a higher level than Holding for a longer period. So I do wonder, what's going to happen with him, with Holding. Again, I think Saliba is definitely long term. I think Gabriel, okay, we don't want to judge him too quickly, but he looks like an absolute find. So, if these two guys are good at the future, what happens to the other guys? Mustafi's there. I mean, we don't need to talk about Socrates. The less said, the better. But yeah, Chambers is intriguing, and Murray, because there was obviously a lot of shall we say surprise at his signing, and then we signed after years of not having a left-footed centre back, we go inside in around 6 months or so. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out, and I think Arteta so far seems like he's good at man management, but I hope it doesn't turn against him. So he does need to manage the squad. He's got to trim the squad. Let's see what he does in January. I think January is going to be quite interesting with regard to Saliba, with regard to some of the other players going out. And then look, maybe with Chambers and Holding, if they play a few games and, have a good run, we could get a situation like Martinez where, their value goes up and we can sell them for 20 mil, and then it can also bring us in some money. So maybe it could work in our favour, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think there's the opportunity for, when you look at the Holding, Chambers, Marie, Socrates, Mustafi, we do have a lot of... I actually was thinking the other day, about how Marie, if he had not have got injured against Manchester City, right, if we would have gone in for Gabriel, and depending on how well Marie would have done towards the end of that season, I don't know how much we would have pushed for Gabriel. We may have gone for two midfielders instead of going for a centre-back and a midfielder like we did this summer. I saw a lot in Marie from his time in Brazil, from speaking to people when I did the tactical breakdowns on him that watched him a lot in Brazil. They rated him exceptionally high. In fact, they were saying that he was arguably the best centre-back, not just at the club at Flamengo, but in the league in Brazil at the time, for his consistency and the way he was playing out there. And he himself has had a bit of a renaissance. Of course, he was at Manchester City. He went and played in Spain for a bit and never really kind of cut it in Europe. Went over to Brazil and was just completely reborn as this sort of player from Europe playing in South America. And he did really well. So when he does return, as you said, I'm interested to see if Gabriel and Marie could work if we chose to use that back three again. Partey gives us that opportunity to stay with that back three because he can play in a centre midfield two with someone else and still provide enough going forwards at the same time. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Arteta manages and rotates our centre-backs when ultimately they will come back, because Mustafi is going to be back fit. Marie is going to be back fit in the next month or so. Chambers, we might have to wait until the new year, as well as Martinelli, of course. But we're going to be getting back these centre-backs, and there's going to be people that are going to be training and wanting to play week in, week out. I touched on Partey there. We've gone half an hour in the show without mentioning our new signing. It's amazing to see him in the Arsenal. First of all, is he not the cutest guy in the Premier League now? He is the cutest player.
I love him. Do you want to know what? Mike Hernandez made a point. I was listening to his podcast earlier, and he hit the nail on the head.
What's the name of it?
Don't think I'm going to... I can't plug. You have to pay for plugs in this show.
I'm going to do it because it would not be another Arsenal podcast.
No, but Mike made a very good point, and I'm going to hate Thomas Partey because he seems like that much of a good guy that he makes you realise how bad of a person that I am. You know what I mean? He's too good for his own good, man. He's like a big baby. That's what I think he's like. He's like a big baby. Remember
he conceived his children to our podcast, by the way. We hold the record for that, for most children conceived to a podcast named Mike Hernandez.
No. Partey reminds me of, remember the big guy from the Goonies? Remember the big, massive dude from the Goonies, where he seems really nice and calm, but he could rip your head off at any minute. He just seems like that type of guy to me. I don't know. He just seems like the most lovable football player in the world, man.
I just loved the bit when he was saying hello to all the journalists on the clapping and saying goodbye, and then they showed the video with like Frimpong on Twitter.
Oh God, I love that guy.
It was great, and I love that they show. I love that actually the club is a little bit more in tune with like the social side of things and seeing the fans. Because I think that, and we like Arsenal, like AFTV, like the club do sometimes distance themselves from that side of things, but we obviously have the likes of Judges on and Kenny Ken on now and again, and there are some really good people that are doing some really good things on social media, and I think that they hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, there are very good people on both sides.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think with that video,
if you're American, you'll get that, and I'm sorry for bringing that into this.
No. I think we all get that. I think with the party, he genuinely looked, taken aback. I mean, just seeing his reaction, he genuinely looks like the happiest man in the world, the sweetest guy. And I think I mean, which other club would have gone to that effort? Let's be honest. Arsenal, we're a special family, and I think you can only really see that once you're inside. And I love how all the players who are signing now are now commenting on how they've just been inundated on social media by the fans. And we always think that, the players are some, distant, out of touch kind of, beings, sentient beings. But the reality is they're normal people like you or I, and they do see this stuff. They do read the messages. They do feel the love and the emotion from the fans. So it's great to see that. And that's something just on a bit of a segue, but I do appreciate Aubameyang for kind of breaking that, because I feel there was always a lot of distance between the fans and the players. And yeah, we've seen Aubameyang, criticized for reaching out and, to AFTV guys and making that connection. But at the same time, I would say that he's also made himself accountable to the fans.
Yeah.
Because he's made himself so open. And a lot of other players, it's very quick to, they're very easy to, go off social media or, throw their shirt on the ground or, cut themselves off. But Aubameyang has completely opened himself up to the fans. So he's one of us.
Say what you like about Troops, but, I like the guy. I know the guy. I like the guy. But say what you like, whether it's Troops or anybody else, you're absolutely right, Tom. I mean, he has basically made a connection. Now, fans may not want the connection to be made by proxy through Troops if they don't feel that way about him. But you have to separate yourself from who the person is and just think, you know what, this is a fan phenomenon, whether you like him or not. There's a connection, and maybe that connection will grow additional webs to other fan groups or to other individual fans or more social media presence. So, perfect point.
Yeah, I think it's amazing too that when you think about it, Thomas Partey went to Athletic at what age? I think he was like 16, 17, was he? Something like that. He played within the B team.
Atletico?
Atletico Madrid, yeah.
Tom hates that.
No, but he played within the B team for ages. Up until he left, he was one of, if not the lowest paid first team member within that team. I mean, you talk about a humble guy. That's not an act, what you're saying, I don't think, from that. You even seen when he met Righty in the behind-the-scenes footage, how starstruck he was meeting Ian Wright, and even he looked starstruck meeting Aubameyang and Lacazette too. I think somebody with that attitude coming in alongside, as you said, the likes of maybe Kieran Tierney and stuff, it's sort of, I don't know, as you have mentioned already, it's making the connection with the fans that much more sort of so much more strong.
And I think that's what makes all the big clubs special. We've seen that at Liverpool. We see it, for example, Dortmund, Bayern. There is a really strong connection between the players and the fans. I mean, just look at Bayern, for example. I mean, they've got it nailed to a T. So I'm hoping the club is going in that direction. And from what we've seen, it's great, and it feels like they feel our pain. They see what makes us special, and they get it. And I think there were probably a few years where a lot of players didn't really get it and weren't really accountable. And hopefully those days are over.
By the same token, what would you expect? It's like they gave him two pieces of paper. One says, I'm ready to give it all and help this great club that I've dreamed of being in my youth. And then the other piece of paper said, I'm too big for Arsenal and I'll kind of give my best when I feel like it. And he just, he made the right choice. Good. I don't know. I mean, I think people are reading a little bit too much into it, but from a hype,
no. See, I would disagree because
from a hype standpoint, I think it's great.
I would, because I think that there's something. I think when you hear them words coming from a player's mouth, you know when they're genuine or when they're not. And I think when he was sitting there, and you could see from his facial expression, you could see from how nervous he even was going in to pick the shirt up for the first time.
He did 8 takes in that video, though.
That was genuine. Well, he deserves an Oscar.
I was genuinely happy to be on this podcast. I've had to drink a lot of red wine to get to that point.
I will not have you come in here and speak badly about Thomas Partey on this podcast.
And disparage. That's true. But yeah, I mean, the fans are. I mean, I love it. Like the fans are the supporters. The fact that we've had two weeks, and I said this on our. This is a bit redundant for those that were watching our pod an hour ago. But I mean, the guy. We always sign players, and then it's 2 weeks, 2 months before we end up seeing them because they've either got an international break, it's early in the summer, or got a broken back, something like that, and we're just absolutely rock hard for this guy right now, and imagine at whatever an hour before the kickoff is on Saturday when he's not in the starting lineup, people are going to go nuts.
That's a good segue.
Yeah.
It is a good segue. Unfortunately, I wasn't listening because I was writing out a question in the chat box. So I was putting down, if you would like to ask questions, people, here is a perfect time for you to do so. Make sure you use a capital Q in the chat box and we will ask the panel to do so. Obviously, we have City coming up, which I believe was the segue. And of course, Manchester City is going to be it's interesting because until the press conference has come out, we don't really know the truth in some of the reports that we've seen throughout the week. That Kevin De Bruyne, of course, was injured. I'm not sure if he was included in the squad for the Belgian game today. Let me just check. Let me just have a quick look. I'm on the right now.
That's had a very base reaction there. I apologize for anyone that's watching.
No, he wasn't in the squad. So it makes you read into it a little bit more. Of course, Raheem Sterling was withdrawn from the England squad for a minor hamstring injury, and he looks to be fit for the game at the weekend. They are without Gabriel Jesus and Sergio Aguero as well. All of it is aligned for them to still bash us 8-0, even if they don't have any of these players.
Well, especially if Kolasinac is our left back.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Tom,
should I wear my Kolasinac shirt just as like a reverse juju?
Never wear it again. Burn it. Tom, what are we thinking ahead of this game? Are you feeling that these absentees are really absentees or not?
Yeah, I don't. I think they're going to play one of their strongest teams. I think all these guys will be back. City have got quite a big pool, so. COVID or no COVID, I'm expecting a very, very strong lineup. And it's going to be interesting to see what Arteta does because I think, we've seen, more goals, I think, conceded in I don't know how many games it's been now since the start of the season than, in 50 or so, odd years, even more. So, is it a time to play on the counter, sit back, with a deep block, or, are we going to go out and play? Because, guys are making mistakes. For example, after international break, the City players haven't been training with each other clearly. So is it a time to go and have a go? I think it's going to be, really, really interesting to see that lineup this weekend and see what Arteta's going to do because, after those freak results that we saw, or maybe not so freak, with the Villa game and the United game, this league is really up in the air. So, is Arteta going to be more pragmatic? Is he going to be a little bit more gung-ho? how our players, who's fit, who's ready. He's got a big decision to make this weekend, and Eddie's obviously on form as well. I'm really excited to see this lineup.
I think that I just know that these players are going to come back fit. It's so irritating. And you also have to factor in that the last time we played City was, of course, in the FA Cup semi-final. Guardiola was beaten by Zabrina. Guardiola will be on this team. If he is beaten twice in a row by Arteta, the embarrassment of that is unreal. And to obviously break the streak that Arsenal have not been able to win away at a big top six side away from home, I think the last 27 attempts. It's that ridiculous at this point. If he becomes that first manager, it's a massive hit.
I think the pressure's off. I mean, I think this is a good opportunity to see how we. I mean, I don't feel like I felt more pressure going into the Liverpool game than I do into this game. I don't know why, but
it's the first big test, I suppose. But
I mean, I obviously I don't want to lose 4-0, and you don't want the momentum, the negative momentum that ends up giving us. But I think I almost look at Saturday as a free roll, and to see what we got, to see where we measure up. Are we really, are we the team that is top 4 so far this season, or are we still, a good ways behind the top 3 or 4 teams? But I'm just not worried about this game. I'm not saying that I'm okay losing. I'm just not that worried about it. I don't know why.
I think it's just very quickly. I just think it's like a case of we've started the season quite well. We won our 3 games against the teams that we should be expecting to beat. We dropped points against Liverpool in a game in which I felt we still showed progress. Yeah, we're in the game for a lot longer than we usually are at Liverpool. This also means once we get, depending on where kind of Arsenal are in the table after this weekend, it's interesting because Arsenal's 2 hardest games of the season are done. Away at City and away at Anfield are arguably Arsenal's 2 toughest games of the season, and they're done. So if we manage to get anything from that game, it's a massive bonus to this season under Arteta. If it could be a huge turning point, it could be a massive turning point for the club.
If we nick this one, then the parade should be booked. But I'm not going to be that worried if it doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
But how do you guys think we should play though?
Well, that's an interesting.
Really, really well, I think.
Yes, that's a good answer. Colorado Guna says, do we think Aubameyang plays through the middle like he did at the end of the Sheffield game? Owen, do you want to tackle that one?
No, I'll sort of round in my City thing too with that. No, I do. I don't think we will yet. I really don't. And I think Kieran Tierney being out is probably a massive part of that there. So no, I wouldn't think so for City anyway. Maybe against some of the sort of lower end teams, we might sort of start that see that be integrated. In terms of City, why I think that we don't feel as bad going into this one, because I think, and I could be clipped for this, and I hate doing stuff like this. I think gone are the days that we go away and get smashed up 5-0.
Famous last words.
No, but I do. I think we've got the ability to remain competitive. It might not be an enjoyable watch, and I think that while we are saying that we're sort of riding the wave of feeling good at the minute, I think City are suffering at the minute. Guardiola's coming under a lot of scrutiny for his supposed inability to coach defenders. It really seems like he's continuing the rut of, rather than actually trying to tactically repair his defence, he just seems to be going out and splashing more cash. So I think this season is massive for Guardiola, and he's coming under pressure that he's never before experienced. So I think we're meeting them at a very good time, and I think it's going to be key to throw Partey in there, I think, because as you said, Tom, against Liverpool, it's okay winning the ball back, but retaining it is something completely different, and something that was really on show for me during the international break. One positive from that absolute melt of a week off was watching Thomas Partey, and he never seems to lose the ball. He wins it back, and he's so good at retaining it.
I'm getting warm thinking.
Getting all excited and stuff here. I can see it.
I got warm a couple times, and I have kids.
I've got a question for you guys. Do you think Kolasinac is better at left centre back or at left back?
No,
left back at the moment.
No.
But here's
I didn't hear the question. The answer was no, and now that I've heard the question, the answer is still no.
No, but here's an actual serious answer to that. Tell me this, right? So Kolasinac was supposedly being pushed out the door this window, and then he's apparently going to be trying to be pushed out the door again in January. Why would you invest any time? Why would you invest any more time into the fella? You know, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Mainsley, blasphemy again, is doing really well for us, and he's done brilliant for the England team on any given opportunity. Give that guy, invest in his future and give him some minutes rather than throwing them at somebody that's going to be out of the club within the next year at most.
So do you see a back three of then Holding, Luiz and Gabriel?
Yes.
Mainsley on the left.
Mainsley on the left, Bellerin on the right, and the new midfield. I mean, I guess with Partey coming in, that presumably would give you a chance, and this is where I show my complete naivety about tactics, but the ultimate goal, I think, would be to be able to play a back four with Partey involved. But I don't think we have the personnel if Tierney's not fit or not allowed to play, I should say. He's perfectly fit to do that. So I think we have to go with the wing back because I don't see Mainsley being the left fullback in a four.
No. But here's a question leading off that for Tom. I'll ask you this because Mike says he doesn't know anything about tactics at all.
I don't. We had a guy on the podcast today who knows everything about tactics because we have to counterbalance.
And I'm sorry, Chad, I know you have your questions in there, but the truth is I'm more important than you are, and this is my moment to shine. And I'm just joking, boys. I'm just joking.
We had a comment from Christopher Fung that said, where is it? Let me find it because he completely bugs you off. I'm trying to find it.
Look like more
Tell me a question while I'm finding it.
So tactically, I've been arguing with myself who, if we are playing 3-4-3, partners Partey in the midfield, because I'm thinking that statistically, if you look at the stats comparing all our midfielders, Xhaka sits a bit more deep than Ceballos does. He's very good at intercepting. He's better defensively, put it like that there. But then Danny Ceballos is very good at carrying the ball out as well. But my only worry is, would his natural instinct when we win the ball back be to bomb forward more so than Xhaka, whereas he would sit and occupy that sort of spot in front of the back four while Partey gets up and down? Who do you think is tactically better to play with him?
It's a good question. It also depends on the midfield that you play. Like if you are going to go with that four with the two wing backs either side, I think in a game like this, Xhaka is perfect for it because Xhaka enables you to kind of release those wide areas whilst Partey can just sort of do his thing. We know that Xhaka's not the best disciplinarian at times and can get caught in position. He can get caught too far forwards, and that means that on the turn he's very slow. But Partey's engine and athleticism means that he can, I feel, cover Xhaka at times. Xhaka, if you haven't checked it out, had an unbelievable performance against Germany. Mike, what are you doing?
I'm just, the fact that you use the word disciplinarian in such an incorrect way is driving me to drink. So
what's wrong with that?
Keep going on. Disciplinarian is someone who keeps other people in line. You're saying that he can't keep himself in line.
He lacks discipline, is what I meant to say.
Yeah, well, that is not what you said. So so I have to have a bottle. I have to have a bottle of wine now.
Okay, fair enough. But in terms of him lacking discipline, there we go. Thomas Partey can be the guy that kind of compensates for that. Danny Ceballos is good at covering and has improved so much more in that area, but we know that we've not improved wholeheartedly with just those two. And I feel that if you had those two in kind of a pivot with a four at the back, it would leave you exposed. Whereas if you have Partey and Xhaka, it leaves you with much more defensive security. But the biggest question I suppose to throw back to you guys is a simple yes or no. But do you actually think that Partey is going to get picked this week? Because Arsenal have a notoriety of bedding players in that they sign.
Yes, I do. And I think his interview is a big part of it because he made it very vocal that he wants to be picked. And I think that
wait, look at him.
What's he doing? Let's see.
Shaking his head.
I'd love him to be picked, but
is that your first bottle of wine? Is it your first? Or
no, it's my second.
Nice.
No, I would like him to be picked, but I just know Arsenal. Look, we don't do that. We don't throw players right out. I mean, look, I'd love to be wrong, and I probably will be wrong, but I just see him being on the bench, and everyone's going to erupt, and everyone's going to, but it's going to be Ceballos and Xhaka, and a 5 in the back, and it's going to be a similar lineup to what we've been playing so far this season. He will come into the game probably in the 55th or 60th minute, but I don't think he's going to start. I would love him to start, but I don't think it's.
I think Moanani is going to play. I think Elneny gets a start in this game.
Oh,
yeah. Well, I don't think you should recoil that much at Elneny starting.
Yeah, but just Elneny and Kolasinac on the pitch at the same time just makes me.
It's not going to be Kolasinac. If Kolasinac plays, I will be shocked. I will be shocked if Kolasinac plays.
Elneny is a new man.
He's like a new signing.
He's like a new signing. I think he's first choice in this game. And then, but who do you play with him?
Start against Liverpool in the league, didn't he?
He did. Did he?
I think he did. Right?
I think considering we're not going to have that much of the ball and his athletic ability, I think you want a body like him who can get up and down the pitch quite well. So I would say the decision is really between Xhaka and Ceballos to play with Elneny. I'm not saying we're going to end the season like that, but I think on form, I think he's got a cheeky chance of starting this weekend.
Tom, what kind of show are you running here?
We're ignoring the chat. We should be ignoring the chat.
Big up to Chig in the chat, by the way. I haven't seen my boy Chig for a while.
Don't worry about the probably 100 other people in there, mate. That's it. Just pick your mate.
Yeah, I'm just picking out my mates right there.
Where is
a great friend who's good friends with somebody who's not a great friend?
We're not talking about that. Zamir says. Oh dear, this boy Fab, £250, unbelievable. Samir says, we have Leicester and Manchester United after. Is it a crime if Partey is on the bench for this one? We aren't expected to win, unlike the following two fixtures.
I could live with it. I mean, I won't. I mean, are we expecting him to play? If those are 3 games in a row, and I think they are, right? I mean, there are 3 consecutive. We might have a Europa League game sprinkled in there, or 2 even. But like, if those 3 games, those 270 minutes, if we don't see Partey, starting and finishing each of those 3 games, I don't think you should get your panties in a bunch. I'm going to pretend that that's an English phrase, even though
English phrase at all.
Yeah, your knickers. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a crime. If we lose because of not having what he brings to the club, then I'm sure that Arsenal Twitter will refer to it as a crime. But look, we got a long season ahead. So let's not like push these things. Let's trust the club to bring these guys in when they're ready, and not be so some of the picks that Unai Emery made, some of the picks that late stage or end stage Arsene Wenger made, really just kind of made you wonder, because it seemed so obvious that these players shouldn't be playing. I'm still in the give Arteta a chance to know what's best for the club, and if Partey isn't starting, that's fine. If he's not starting any of those 3 games, that would be weird.
And then, guys, what do you think further upfield then? I mean, Pepe's the star.
I'm in the chat box, the least favourite person right now. Go on, Tom. Carry on. Question.
Sorry. No, I was saying so. And then looking further up the pitch, Pepe, is he coming back into form? Willian's not really done it in the last couple of games until he went into the number 10. If we're not playing a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, do we want to see Willian start on the right over Pepe? And obviously up front, is it Laka and Ober again?
I don't think Pepe is the type to just throw into. He had a great game against Sheffield United, don't get me wrong, but he's not going to see enough of the ball like he did in the Sheffield game to have enough of an impact. I feel like Willian is a better option with his experience and the way that he will drive the ball up the pitch on the right hand side to do that. There's still a really weird part of me that I like. That thinks that there's going to be a back four, and I don't see how that's possible. But I just have this odd feeling we're going to go with the back four. I don't know why. I feel like Arteta might go with what you guys were saying about that we really don't really have anything to lose in this game, and he might just think when teams like Leicester have gone at them and attacked Manchester City, they've looked vulnerable. And by playing the 3-4-3 that we did against Liverpool, we invited pressure, and ultimately it just told. And then Aston Villa played a very attacking system and absolutely battered Liverpool. I know we warmed them up for them, but it's just a case of I feel that like having nothing to lose.
We warmed them up. We were the fluffers for Aston Villa.
Why don't we go at City? Like, why don't we go at them and try and get something? It's Anyway, that's probably going to round off the show for this evening. Thank you ever so much, people, for tuning in. There will be, of course, a proper preview on Friday ahead of the game, and there'll be an update on tomorrow. I'm still waiting for Y-Scout to drop in Thomas Partey's performance against Qatar, so I could have done a show. I was hoping to do it today, but I can't. We may have a breakdown on Emile Smith-Rowe coming for you very soon because
he would be a great signing.
He would be a great new signing for us this season. He would be wonderful.
I would love to get that guy into our club.
Sure. Are you drinking wine out of a plastic cup?
I'm in a hotel room. What do you want from me?
Okay, fair enough. Why are you in a hotel room? What are you doing?
It is a long story. It is a long story. I'm on tour right now, and no. Yeah, no. Our house is a mess right now with workers and painting and all that stuff. So
exterminating stuff. You've got like the big what do you see? When
they found a pair of my old underwear and they had to fumigate the house for a couple of weeks.
Unbelievable. Right. Anyway, thank you, Mike, for coming on this evening. You want to just
vs.cancer.com. You would not believe that I actually am a charitable, guy. But like, out of all of this ridiculousness, we've raised almost $20,000 this year, which is let me do the calculation. It's about 15,000 quid. But with the help of people like Owen, putting together a fundraising event that brought over $1,000 to the cause. With the help of Tom and other friends in the podcasting world and in the Arsenal world, and we've got 350 people that have donated from 22 different countries, including Spain, which is your favorite country, Tom, and a place where Chig likes to visit. We've got all those countries giving to nearly $20,000 for Gooners versus Cancer, which raises money directly for Tom. Just got the joke. Raises money directly for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and it's a cause that's very important to me. My father died of leukemia 10 years ago, and it broke my heart. And I just I've decided to put some effort into a good cause, and have gotten the cooperation of some incredible people from Arsenal Football Club. We've got some amazing things on auction that you can donate and potentially win. So go to goonersvcancer.com, get your raffle tickets in. You might win some great stuff, and either way, you're helping to fight blood cancer. So, Tom, thanks for the opportunity to talk about it again, and I always love coming on here and bantering with you.
Of course, mate. I've just put the link. I will put it into the description after the video. I just tried editing it in there now, but it wouldn't let me. But I've put it in the chat box.
If you can go to goonersvcancer.com, you can go to goonersversuscancer.com, or you can go to the LLS site that Tom put in the chat. All of those basically go to the same place, and reach out to us on our Twitter at goonersvcancer or at the goonerspod if you have any questions. But the 2020 campaign ends at 11 o'clock UK time, 6 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. So you've got 24 hours left. And Mike is one of those people that have donated very generously to the cause and helped us raise a lot of money. So it's an amazing Gooner family that we're part of, and I appreciate it.
I can't get over the fact that my association and my donation went towards me having a rage quit on FIFA. Like, that's just not fair. How did you get on? I know Owen played. Where did you get?
I lost like a man with dignity. And then I congratulated
a video game. It doesn't exist.
I congratulated the 12-year-old boy after he beat me.
So yes, we did have earlier in the campaign. We did have the FIFA tournaments that you're talking about. Now Tom lost in the early rounds of the Champions League on the Xbox platform, which I believe was won. The final was contested out of 48 people. Was contested by 2 teenagers, one of whom I gave birth to. He did.
You gave birth to him.
Yes, I did. I didn't give birth to him during the tournament.
You're having a go at me about disciplinarian, and you're the one giving birth. So
I still have the perineal tearing.
Don't judge the game. Don't judge the game.
I have the perineal tearing to show for it, but
using that word.
But yeah. So I was very proud of my son, but all of his winnings went to the Gooners versus Cancer. So there's no nepotism going on. But Owen, he came really close to winning like one game, and then he didn't, and then it was over.
You lost every game.
No, I went through undefeated in the groups.
Oh, okay. I went for undefeated in the groups. I scored 34 goals and conceded 3 in 3 games.
All I know is I woke up one morning and I got like 4 texts from people that are like, dude just rage quit like in the right after the game was over, and I'm not sure that I want to know this person anymore. And I was like, who? And they're like, it's Tom Canton. And I'm like, that is not the kind of
like I said to the guys, like, congratulations,
charity fundraiser
game and all that. But I'm sorry, I'm a competitive guy and I don't like losing.
I have a video to prove that it was a rage. Did you not wait there? I'll put this up on YouTube, folks.
He said good game in the public chat, and then he texted me
the game actually being deleted from the console.
Yes, that's true.
You can find that video if you like. Yes, I deleted FIFA. I deleted the game afterwards. He
said good game in the WhatsApp chat for the entire group, and then he texts me a litany of discussion about how FIFA's screwed up and he had 91 shots on goal and none of them went in and it was unfair. And I'm like, just let the young child win.
I don't understand. No, I'm sorry. I'm not having this.
He lost to a fetus.
If I lose at something, I want to lose on common ground. And there was nothing common about the ground.
You don't get to dictate how you lose. You don't get to dictate the way you lose.
Every shot he took just went straight in. And every shot I had trickled towards the goal.
Did you get this done? Right, you need to make a rule next year. And I'm sorry, I know we're running over time here. But do you know what a greedy goal is? There's a few other names for it that I'll not mention, okay? But there was greedy goals all over the place. It's where you run up one-on-one with the keeper and you square it across the box and tap it in.
We call that pegging. So it's peg.
I remember there was many of busted lips, broken jaws and broken noses between me and my brothers for them types of goals, okay? So you and your little American friends who don't know FIFA etiquette need to educate yourself. Educate yourself, people.
It's a serious game. I haven't bought it this year for the first time in my entire life. I was buying this as I was birthed. I was playing FIFA 1994.
Yeah, I bought it when I was 6. So FIFA 79 was amazing. Like Pele was like ridiculous, and
an icon before he was even an icon.
Yeah, and like a 12-year-old Maradona I had playing for me on my icon team. He was in form. Just a really bad show of sportsmanship, Tom. But I do appreciate that you supported the charity, and that's really all that matters in the end. You can scream and shout and yell at 12-year-old boys, but as long as you're supporting a good cause, then it's all good for me.
Yeah. Mike's left the building. I'm joking.
I was just saying a whole bunch of stuff, but that's okay.
It's fine. Thank you, Mike. Owen, of course, always a pleasure, fella. I appreciate you keeping the language down on this one. I'm sure it's a struggle, as per.
It is. Do you want to know what? And here comes my cheap, tacky plug. Since I've started my own podcast, I've sort of it's a Gooner Crack. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube. We actually have a show at 8:00 on Friday evening with Mike Hernandez as one of the guests and Jared Carter as well. So it's not as insightful as this, I'll admit that, but there's a lot more profanity. But yeah, no, I've let the handbrake off, so I've really sort of had to rein myself in when I come back onto yours, because it does get a little messy over there, especially when you have this guy coming. Yeah, I know. No. I mean, mate, I'll warn you, okay? you have a sterling reputation within the YouTube podcasting community. Okay, that's going down the drain as soon as you go live with us.
Good to know.
I've been spending 4 years trying to get Tom's reputation to be closer to mine, and it's just not working. He keeps getting jobs and keeps getting
disciplinarian is
yeah. I mean, he's the disciplinarian. But,
we're really the filth that pushes him to new heights. You know, when he looks.
We're the candy. We're the eye candy, Owen.
Well, but
you need eye candy.
That's a really shitty looking sweet shop for me.
There it is. You did it. He broke it.
Sorry.
Hello, it's been a pleasure. You sit very patiently waiting for these two to shut up.
Cheers, guys. No, it's been a pleasure. Been away for a while, but good to be back. And the games are coming thick and fast. So let's see. I'm not sure we've got lots to chew on in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, I'm sure we do. Mike, more than others. Oh, sorry, I had to get that. It was just too perfect to set that one up. Thank you.
I actually decided to let that go, and you had to bring me into it.
Oh, dear me. It's been a pleasure, people. We will see you again very, very soon. Make sure you drop a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and the Gooners Pod and Gooner Crack whilst you're at it. And I'm sure Tom will start his own podcast very, very soon as well. We will see you.
Oh, don't forget to promote the Jerby podcast. The Jerby podcast starts next week.
For those that don't know, we're actually in the presence of the gerbil.
I just know him. That's all. I'm good friends with him.
Yep.
He's a dick.
Hate him. See you later, people. Have a good one.